Ooh, my hair is a hot mess.
Hello, Goofy Geekers. Just for the record, I tried.
You didn't say it loud enough.
What's up today? Today our topic is
The Princess Bride.
this is your movie.
I love this movie.
You two were very excited. The last one. It was like, oh wait a minute, this movie. So, I just want to show this off. This is more work than I think any of us do.
This is teacher life here.
This is called Teacher on Summer Break. What can I keep myself busy
There
with?
you go. All right. Guys ready?
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's start. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Want me to start?
Oh, welcome back to our podcast.
So for The Princess Bride, when we said we were going to do this, I was like, couldn't sleep that night. And I was like, I have the book. I should go back and reread
sleep
it.
over it?
No, it just was like, was one of those nights where I was like, I'm not sleeping anyways. Might as well go get something to, read.
Just so worried about, being part of this podcast again.
It's high pressure stakes here. I had to make
do you
up
like
for
yours
last
cooked?
time.
High
High pressure stakes. Clearly well done.
You have no cards on top of them.
No.
Oh.
These were my original notes. So that...
Oh, I thought it was like, okay, there's a slideshow.
PowerPoint.
PowerPoint.
Wow.
So we obviously grew up watching this, nonstop pretty much.
He's hot.
He is. He's
Very
hot.
cute. Or was, I guess. I mean, he's still alive, but he's grown up now. Not really my type.
Child before.
Yes. When he was a wee lad.
So my friend Kristen and I, we were at dinner one night and we were talking. It came up somehow and she was like, well, there's a book, right? I said, nuh-uh. So naturally we finished dinner, went to the store and picked it up. She goes, you're really going to enjoy it, but be mindful, it's not just the story that's in here. I said, what do you mean it's not just the story? She goes, there's this whole backstory that goes behind it, and you really need to read it because it adds to the story. It's not one of those where it explains I came up with this because, whatever.
Right.
It's told in story format in a way. So the first chunk is just them talking about how he came to write this. And basically this book is an adaptation from the original.
Uh-huh.
So the original was...
Trying not to laugh.
Your sister, when you just went like that, went oh my god. Like words in the page.
I like when people read to me.
Go ahead, sorry.
I still can't listen.
So basically, how this story came to be was Goldman was a kid. He had pneumonia for the second time in his life, and he got really, really sick. He was in bed for a month. And his dad was from Florin, and he comes and he goes, I'm going to read you this book. And he was like, well, what's in it? And it kind of reflects that opening scene in the movie with the grandfather who's like, it's got action, it's got this and that. And he was like, yeah, whatever. I'm not a book reader. Who cares? But you know what? We're here, whatever. So he starts to read it to him. And he was like, oh my God, this is the best book ever. This is what reading is like. So he gets really excited about reading, whatever.
Cannot relate.
Fast forward to when he's an adult, he's working in film, whatnot. He has a son, and he's No, he has a son.
Oh, okay. Well, that was my first PowerPoint.
Well, that's wrong because he literally writes in his son's name.
You can't believe everything
Justin.
you see off the internet.
Yeah.
Okay. No,
He has a son daughter.
No, I just
son.
did the whole okay, go ahead, read it quick. It's only a little paragraph.
Interesting, because
I know,
nothing at all that's
but it
in
made
here.
sense. It made sense if you never read that.
Right,
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's okay, go ahead.
So he has a son with his wife.
Not
And-
reading one. No, I can't, go ahead. It
So-
worked in.
Each fact is just wrong. Did you look up wrong facts about it? That's right.
I've got the Bible right here. This is the...
Ashley, I am not arguing with you at all.
So,
Get a ruler to the hand.
PowerPoint laser.
According to section.
Go ahead, Ashley.
So, Goldman, like, he's working in California, his son's living in New York, and he goes to his wife, go find this book. I read it when I was a kid, best book ever. So she's like, well, I can't find it. Like, gives up. And so he eventually tracks down a thing, has his son read it, and he's like, all right, read it. Next time I see you, we're going to talk about it, because, like, I want to get your opinion. Like, it won't hurt my feelings if it's bad. And so he comes home, and he's like, well, what'd you think? Wasn't it the best thing ever? And the kid was like, I read maybe chapter 1. And Goldman was like, what do you mean? Like, so you didn't read, what about this part? And he was like, oh, yeah, no, didn't read that part. And he was like, okay. So when he was a kid, he never held the book in his hand. His dad always had it.
Right.
So then he picks up this copy that his son has, and he starts to read it, and he goes, wait a minute, this is not the story my dad told.
Right.
So the original is like 1,000 pages long, and there are 50, 60, 70, 80, sometimes 100 pages of just like descriptions. And so he was like, well, this is kind of crap. So he went through and he adapted it, cut out to just like the good stuff.
Ah.
So the original author, Morgenstern, his whole purpose was more to like mock the royalty and like that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
There's
tongue in cheek.
There's pages of people just like packing things to go on a short trip, and the trip is like really short, and it's like a page, and like the exciting stuff is a page, and then like they have to pack everything back up, and that's another 47 pages or whatever.
Is it called the same book?
Yeah,
so it's The Princess Bride?
So it was The Princess Bride, but this one's adapted by Goldman, and Goldman's copy is the one that like took off in America. And the Florinese were like, this is shit.
Not for nothing, though. The other page is 1,000 pages. This is still a lot of pages to read. So
remember, this is backstory of the actual...
Where does it start?
Where does it actually start?
Why? Are you ever going to pick that up?
No, but I'm still saying.
Nope, that's the introduction still.
You mean to tell me I'd have to go through all this introduction to read this book?
It's funny. There's a lot more than like we could cover in a podcast, but it's only like 350 pages. Because then there's also Buttercup's Baby, which is the sequel, and there's explanation for that too.
We'll continue.
So anyways, when Goldman wrote it, he was in the middle of adapting it, and he goes to Fox and he goes, we need to make this a book or into a movie. Fox goes, all right, well, here's the deal. We'll keep the movie rights. You keep the book rights. No. Strike it, reverse it. Whatever. We'll get half, you get half, so, like, if we can't mess with each other. And that guy got fired. So, and they cut the project. Anything that guy had pushed through got cut and whatnot. So Goldman went through a lot to get this movie to actually, like, go, basically. He finishes adapting, and then he makes it into...
It's my second point. You seem to be right on it, so I was just going to let you read it.
Where am I reading?
Second point, if you want to... Because it's about the movie.
I'm not processing, sorry.
Just let it talk. It's about the same point.
It says the stepfather gave his book to Rob Reiner's dad, and Rob Reiner was at 13.
Oh, yeah.
And then he read the movie, and in his 20s, when Goldman gave it to his father, which was Carl Reiner is the father. Mm-hmm. It instantly was his favorite book of all time, and then he knew that he was going to be the one who made it into the movie, which he did. He's the one who made it into it, but they had no idea how many times before him they had tried to make it and failed, which you're talking about. That's why.
Which they do talk about in the book too,
which,
like that whole thing.
The leading man and the director were in love with this book before it even started. If I stole your thunder on that, I'm sorry.
No, you're not stealing.
You were talking about the movie, so I was just trying to jump on that a little bit. Okay.
Yeah. No. So basically, they start to make it, and then the book comes out, and it gets really popular, and then obviously the movie comes out, and that gets really popular. But Goldman got a lot of crap from like those that live in Florida. They're like, "This is the worst thing ever. You kind of like missed the point here, buddy." So he took a lot of heat for it, and he's been like sued so many times ever since it's come out. So that's how like the novel kind of came to be, and then
You're doing great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, while they're making the movie, this is where my nose jumped around a lot because he jumps around a lot, and I was like, "Wait, what's going on here?" So when he wrote the role for Fezzik, they always knew it was going to be for Andre. There was talk of it being Schwarzenegger, but they're like, that's too much money. So they went up to Andre. They had to like hunt him down because he's a wrestler at the time, and they're like, "We want you for this role, whatever."
Okay.
And so he's like, "Yeah, all right, like I'll do it," and whatnot. Andre took on that role so much that he went to Florin. He went to the Morgenstern Museum, which is more than Goldman did for this adaptation. He actually climbed the cliffs of insanity multiple times, and he fought groups of men off because he wanted to like take on that whole role of Fezzik. And so because it was like one of his first acting situations, they had to like help him out a little bit more with like, you can't talk that slow, you gotta talk a little bit faster and whatnot. So he was Fezzik from the beginning. He also mentioned, Goldman also mentions that this is Robin Wright's like start to her film career. This is kind of like where it all takes off for her. So pretty much every time it cuts to the grandfather talking to the son, it's a lot like it's basically what Goldman's experience was with his own father, almost word for word for a lot of the like breaks that you see, like when he's like, "Wait a minute, Grandpa! Like that's wrong. What you read was wrong." Like that was a big fight between him and his father, and his father closed the book and went, "I'm not reading to you for a while." And like he took a break from reading, and like it took a lot for him to come back, and he was like, "Okay, like I'm sorry, like you're right." Yeah. The real Fezzik, so I guess like the original story is like based loosely on history.
Right.
The real Fezzik, his hand's even bigger than Andre's hand was.
Wow.
So, like, that's crazy.
How big was Andres? Do you know?
Oh yeah.
Big.
Well, I know.
Like,
He's a big
I don't know.
guy,
Like
but,
there's a
like,
picture of him holding a Coke can and like this,
Yeah.
like a Coke can.
They while they were getting ready to film, they like met at like a cafe or whatever, and wherever they were, and they couldn't sit inside because the chairs were too small, so they decided to sit outside. And Andre is described to like push the arms of the chair in and just like sit in, and they just kind of like bend around him. Yeah. The "You Kill My Father, Prepared to Die" was almost cut from the original from Morgenstern. So we almost had a Princess Bride, like, even before this version of "You Killed My Father, Prepared to Die."
You know the actor Mandy, who played that part, took that part because his father had just died of cancer, so he looked at the.
I did know this.
Well, yeah. That I didn't even have to look at that because I saw this on TikTok or whatever, and he said that his father had just died of cancer, so he acted like the six-finger man was cancer. So that whole part, throughout that whole movie, when there's tears or there's anger or that's pure hatred from his heart or love towards cancer.
You can tell.
Oh, it's
like you can
best
see it in his face,
It's-
in his
He's
eyes, and
amazing.
like
yeah, I don't know about you, but I have to say throughout that whole movie, he is the movie that he's part of the movie that makes the glue that makes you go, wow. I mean, everyone has funny moments and hee-hees, ha-has, but Mandy has the moments where you just go, oh, I feel it. I feel that hatred. I mean, he's got great lines and funny little...
Right.
But when he says that line and he's on his knees and he's kind of cut up and, and he's like, you know it.
Even in the book, because obviously you get a little bit more background on all the characters, or almost all the characters. Like, Inigo is one of those characters who, he literally spent his whole life getting revenge. And then he finally got it and he was like, well, now what? So.
Andre the Giant had to learn his lines by audio, where people had to like keep reading his lines and then him repeating it. He didn't read them.
Yeah.
So he had to keep learning his lines to it. That's crazy. I can't even imagine trying to do lines. Like, I can do lines, like, someone's reading, you read back and forth, and you kind of memorize them. But the thought that you had to someone's reading and then someone has to stand next to you and say this, say this, say this, is pretty crazy to me.
Something that was always going to be in the movie is that the scene when they're in the fire swamp and the fire like comes up and catches Buttercup's dress. Like before he even sat down to adapt it for a screenplay, he was like, that scene stays in, because to him it was that big pivotal moment between the two of them, and like so his whole thing was to focus on like the Buttercup Wesley adventure, you know, versus the original author. So he was like, nope, from the get-go that was always going to happen, because that's such a pivotal moment of like they're back together and they really will, like, there's no more questioning of like how they feel towards one another.
Well, if you go back to the beginning of the movie, which let's just gotta go back and you kind of talk about it. If just the pirate thing I loved, where we didn't know Wesley was really Wesley. And those moments where you think he's dead, or, you know, those moments. And then,
it's really hard, like, knowing that he is, to, like, put your mind in, like, as if you've never seen it before, you know? Especially because we've seen it, like, 800 million times, you know? So, like, I wish I could go back and, like, watch it as if I've never seen it before, and, like, actually, like, get that surprise, like, oh my god, it's actually him, you know?
Well, the book and the movie are very, very similar. So I'm someone who I have to read the book before I watch the movie. But this was a very rare case where I was like, I respect both very equally. They're very well thought out, really well planned, really well adapted for both formats. And so there's like some surprise. Like Buttercup, the whole reason why she kind of is who she is. In the beginning, she's a person nobody wants. Like, she doesn't bathe, she doesn't take care of herself, like, she's kind of gross, like, you know, and you're just like, okay. And then, like, the author makes a lot of jokes of, like, well, she was in, like, in the position of, like, the 20th hottest woman in the world. And then, like, she slowly, like, creeps up as she, like, gets more and more beautiful. She, you know, Wesley goes away, and she was like, well, maybe I could bathe. Like, you know, I guess I could freshen up, you know, things like that. And you get to see, like, her parents kind of batter back and forth and whatnot. So obviously, like, she's a little bit more better developed in the book than she is in the movie. She's not as, like, helpless in a sense in the movie.
I actually just found this out, that Goldman spent months researching 17th century sword fighting just to craft Wesley's and Indigo's duel to details.
Huh?
That's a little fact right there. Go ahead. Sorry.
No.
Just throw it my little...
I have a little flaw in a scene.
Okay.
So the part where they're climbing up the ropes, fast speed, whatever, and then, like, they get to the top or whatever, and they cut the rope, and, like, he's hanging on the wall or whatever. And, like, obviously he's struggling then, but when, what's his name, throws him the rope. Indigo throws him the rope, and now he's, like, still struggling to get that. You were just climbing up that goddamn thing, and now you're struggling this much up the top?
He's probably exhausted. He hung on to that cliff for a long time. You hang on a cliff and then go climb up a rope.
Okay, but if he was that fast to begin with, then they should have just, like... I think it's a bit of a flaw.
This is on this. I don't know if this is true or not. Do you know it was the actor's idea to jump headfirst into the swamp in the movie, because in the book it says feet first, and as an actor he said that wasn't very heroic, so he jumps like he dives instead of jumping feet first after Buttercup in the quicksand. And I was like, yeah, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if you
Here
kinda,
I come!
yeah, no, if you kind of break it down.
Let me stomp on you. Where's your head?
Some of the bigger things that are different between the movie and the book. So in the book, Humperdinck has this thing called the Zoo of Death. And it's 5 layers. And each layer is like a different form of like danger creatures, basically. Because he's a big hunter and whatnot. Yeah. And the 5th level is completely empty. Because he's never found a big enough challenge to put in that 5th tower or whatever. So like one of them's like creepy crawlers and like slithering things. So there's like spiders and snakes and whatever. And then there's ones that are like the fastest animals in the world. So there's like cheetahs and whatever else. And he's like, he looks at the count and he's like, I don't feel like hunting this today. So like they'll like capture them and like send them out and he goes and hunts it. And that's basically how he keeps hunting, because the people were like, dude, if you're gonna run our country, you gotta be here. And he's like, but I want to hunt. So this was his compromise.
Right.
So when the Count and Humperdinck actually take Wesley and they like bring him into that pit of despair or whatever, it's actually that fifth layer. We just don't see all those other four layers. And in the book, when Indigo and Fezzik go to find Wesley, they find the albino outside of like a different doorway. It's like the secret like false entry in a sense. So like when you go through it, you actually face like all the creatures, and like they have a whole play on words and whatnot all the way down. And but the real entrance is the tree. So in the movie, they just were like, it's a tree, and you just kind of like go down something, whatever, which makes sense for like film. Like I can see them being like, it kind of wastes a little bit of film to be like filming all these creatures like coming at them.
I think we needed it. I think it could have really added to the movie.
It is really, like, the way it's described is really cool. That would be your own cat.
I can't wait to make a TikTok out of that.
I truly
Did you think you entered the fifth layer?
I just truly love that it was your own sister when that's your own cat. Right under the bus. Like, that's your own cat.
I didn't even hear her like or like feel her jump up. So she touched me like right underneath my armpit.
The Miracle Max wasn't funny, so Billy Crystal brought 2 photos for his makeup artist to find the right face, and for 3 days straight and a 10 hours a day, Billy Crystal improvised 13th century period jokes, never saying the same thing or the same line twice. Unfortunately for the viewers, many of the improvised jokes were not fit and for family. I'd love to see that cut. I'd love to see that though. That
I wonder if we can find it somewhere.
Only the cast and the crew knows how funny and how more crude Miracle Max takes were, but judging from the fact that as he recounts it in the book, so I guess there's a book out of him making it. Is that no? But is this the book of him making the movie though?
He talks about making the movie.
Oh, he does.
Here.
Okay,
yeah.
he does. Okay.
So it's part of like his introduction.
Oh no, because I was kind of like, I know you were talking about him making the book, but I didn't know if it was about the movie too.
No, in the book, the first
no, I
couple
didn't know it was
editions.
about the movie either.
Book on the Princess Bride.
No, about making the movie.
I only spent 20 minutes talking about it.
You're
Niles.
talking about.
You were talking
about. Did you not hear? This is all about before the book even starts.
The whole introduction is just like
the
how
book
it
is
became
3
a book,
pages.
but also
The rest is just knowledge about it.
This is the actual story.
it's from this tab to this tab. That's the whole story right there.
That's it. The rest were all beginning to end.
One of the other things is, so you know the scene when she's with Vizzini and the 2 others, Buttercup is, in the boat and they're like rowing along, and she's just like, peace out, like jumps over the side, and they're like, the electric eels, they're gonna come get you, they get louder, they scream. Yeah, no, in the book it's sharks. And so she falls in, and Vizzini goes, you know there's sharks in that water, and what draws them is blood and whatnot, and so he starts like hacking at himself and collecting the blood and throws it over, and that's what attracts the sharks instead of like the electric eels and whatnot. And then the interruption that happens, you know, when the grandfather stops and he goes, she doesn't get hurt, she lives. That scene. Goldman does the same thing to you in that shark scene. He literally just stops the scene and he's like, take a breath. Buttercup lives. Because, you know, logically, if it's called The Princess Bride, like, she's probably gonna make it to the end of the...
She dies halfway through. Or actually, like, in the beginning.
Do you know that the actor who played Wesley had a broken toe and had to go 6 weeks into production, and didn't tell anybody because he was afraid that he would have been kicked off and like replaced because of the broken toe. So I guess so if you watch the movie supposedly by this, I don't know, because now I'm reading this and now I'm going is that he's actually limping a lot, and in the movie, and Reiner says, why are you always limping? And then he basically tells them, and they actually end up doing some movie magic, so you don't see the limp as much. But if you watch some parts, they say you can still see him limping to some degree. Now it makes you just go, because once I told you.
I'm gonna watch it for the 100th time.
Like, yeah, well, I would.
Let's put it on now.
The whole podcast.
Just a reaction.
Oh look! Oh.
I'll make sure the sound's off for them.
Let's see. There's also the 4 white horses that Fezzik just kind of like randomly shows up with at the end.
Yeah.
So they don't do it in the movie. Like Humperdinck rides a black horse like throughout the movie or whatnot. But the 4 white horses were actually Humperdinck's like fastest horses. So he was riding those to go find Buttercup. That's how he catches up to them so fast. It's like he's like racing on one and it's tired and he just like, all right, hops over to the other and goes to the other one. So that's why there's the 4 white horses at the end.
So
put that out there.
One question. Mm-hmm. If you had 4 white horses and you're riding them,
he probably was on top of all of them.
No, he's on one, and then it gets tired and he jumps to the other one.
So my question is, if you're riding a horse, and you get to the spot when one gets tired, and you get off and get on the other one, hasn't all 4 run the same distance with it?
I'm not saying. I don't know.
One's not carrying the weight here.
Can you imagine that? Run. Oh, you're tired? Okay. And he's like, I just ran the same way, guys. Like, the horse is like, what are you doing? Like, I just ran the same thing. I wasn't standing here. The other 2 are like, oh man, you gotta get on us twice as far.
It's like, you know, like the what are they called? Like the races. The races with like the baton or whatever.
Relay race.
Yeah.
I just love it. He's like, stole 4 white horses and then just got off. When the other one was tired, the other one's like, I ran the same. The last 2 are like, yeah, I'm not getting the last one.
I just went.
So he's supposed to be as fast as horses.
Yeah. So that's where they come from. Like, so there's a lot of like little things that like when you're watching the movie and you only know the movie, either you don't think about it, you're like, that feels a little random, but like whatever. Like you just kind of like roll with it. But then you're like, you know, the book, it describes it a little bit more, but it still never explains like where Fezzik found these horses. He's just like, yeah, there were 4 white horses. There you go. We're gonna go right off into the sunset.
I think, oh no. The one of the final scenes never made it to the final film.
Which one?
In the alternate ending that was eventually cut, Fred Savage is the little boy who played, and Peter Falk, which is the grandfather that reads it, just in case you don't know, is reading The Princess Bride, goes to his window after his grandfather has left, and he sees Wesley, Indigo, and Fezzik and Buttercup on all their white horses.
Aww.
And that was going to be the ending.
Aww. So I'm not gonna lie. So they changed the ending a little bit for the movie, and the movie end is so much better. The book just ends.
Up light on it. I feel like it's getting dark in here. It does, doesn't it?
It does feel a little dark.
Just when you're reading with your fingers and you're like,
yeah. Feeling them. So I wrote it in pen.
I thought you were gonna say Braille. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think the only other point I have is the line where Wesley goes, "Life is pain." You know, anyone who tells you anything different is telling it. That's actually from Fezzik's background. So Fezzik was, born big, and his parents were like, "You're gonna wrestle for us," and like basically fights off all these people and whatnot. And he was like, "I don't really want to do that. Like that's not my style." And they're like, "Well, life is pain. Anyone who tells you different is selling you something. So that's where that came from. Like he basically liked that line and was like, where can I plop that, and stuck it there. But almost all the rest of the dialogue is almost word for word from the original.
Favorite part of the movie?
My favorite. I have to pick one.
I don't know. I'm just trying to come up with something.
You guys go.
Very beloved.
Yes, actually, I think that is it. Very beloved. We are gathered here today.
I like that part of the movie because I feel, okay, throughout the movie there's silliness, but there's always a reason for the silliness. It's like that one moment where someone says something to kind of drop your guard, trying to, like there's always something light about it. But when that happens, I feel like it's a total, say what now? Like, it's like a...
It's that guy at the karaoke.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's so outrageous. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's the odds of the guys like, Billy Beloved, we are gathered here today? You're like, what? What's that guy? Like, you know what I mean? It's something about the movie kind of has this nice little flow of cute, funny, whatever. But when we get to that part, and I'm waiting for him to be like, dearly beloved, we are, like, super serious, and then he comes out with this voice, and I'm like, marriage.
So in the book, it's actually written exactly that way.
Is it?
So when I got to that point, I couldn't hear it in any other voice, like my brain.
Wait. You could hear the book?
Yeah, I could.
Okay.
I hear
So
the voice.
talks to me. No, but when I was reading that part, like, I could hear it in his voice, and I was like, if I hadn't seen the movie, I don't think I could decode this part of the text, because I have no idea what this guy is saying. I was like, there is too many apostrophes, random letters.
Skip to the end.
That's a good scene, too, because you have so much going on at once. Like, there's the marriage, but then there's, like, the fight, and there's,
and
everybody's doing something.
What is it when they're booing her? Boo! Boo that
Bow
one.
down to her. Bow down.
And that's one of my favorites. So wait a minute. So what? Oh, you're gonna say my line now? You're gonna take my?
Well, now I gotta think of a different one. There's too many good ones.
There are good ones.
You go. What's yours?
I do think it's the "you killed my father" scene, because it's just so powerful, and like you see him finally get that. Oh my goodness! Sorry, there's children shouting outside the window.
Teacher mode.
Okay, go. Like.
It's a parade. It's a parade of small children. There's the moms. Yeah, I know that is very emotional.
But it's kind of in that same realm with where the marriage is going on at the same time. So you have you're kind of like thrown in a lot of different perspectives, and
you have a lot of emotions all at once. Where it's like you have this funny moment, you have this deep moment, because Mandy really sells that. Like, it's and he wasn't going to take it. He wasn't going to take it. And then they were like, okay. And then here he is dealing with his father's death, and it's like. It's till this day still one of the best things, and it's so raw. That's what it feels like. It's so raw, and you now knowing why, it just puts in another category. What's your least favorite? What's the part that you feel?
Is there a bad part in this?
Yeah, there's one part I don't like. There's one part that I was looking at me like.
No, what part didn't you
I
like?
didn't like the rat. I felt like out of all of it was the fakest part. It was like.
Yeah.
We were doing so good till right then. Like, I was buying everything into this rat, like to some degree. And then the rat looks so. And this is not. Also, we have to understand the time this was made, but it was so fake that I was just like.
The eels I was watching today, and they're like, I bet it was so great for that time.
No, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's all perfect,
right?
But that one's the worst because I feel like we see it. It looks really good. It jumps on him, and then it just it looks like a stuffed pillow. Right. Like it's just like he's rolling on the ground with his fire shooting here and here, and I'm just like,
yeah.
Like I was waiting for his hand to come out. Like, you know how they have those puppets, and you like put or you move its hand to make it look like it's moving. That was the only one That's the only part that if I could redo that movie, I I don't think I would even put that. I know it's important, but it's something about it that just kind of goes.
I feel like there's ways that we could make it better. Like I feel
Even
like
for
it
that
could
time,
still work.
even for that time, because I would just put you know how they did the Ewoks. I would have put like a little, like smaller person in there in that suit to be able to attack them a little bit instead of just a stuffed animal, because it's basically a stuffed animal. I mean, we can all sit here and say it's completely limp
It's
before
not
he's
real. What do you mean?
Yeah.
They're not real.
Yeah. I'll tell you right now, if that was real, I'm out.
Probably find it like Australia or something.
Yeah.
I thought that was the New York rats after the pandemic when they were all like
Yeah. When they were living in our houses, they were doing Broadway. So you guys loved that whole movie. There was none.
I think also when I was, before reading the book and whatnot, the scene where like Humperdinck is like, there was a duel here, and like this guy won. I was just like, get over yourself, dude. Like how would you even know that? Like, like I understand like the comic and whatnot, but I was just like, get over yourself.
So
like,
the whole time, would you say it was inconceivable?
You know that word? You keep using it. I don't think it quite means what you think it means.
That's one of my favorite scenes too. That's
It's a good one.
That's a good one.
And when they're battling over which cup has the poison.
I got you. I am
What's that over there?
I love the fact that.
I do have a question though. Yeah. How does one work up the tolerance for iodine or whatever?
Is it like when you're allergic to something and you just like slowly eat more and more of it? I guess.
Yeah.
But if it's so deadly that
there's no smell, there's no taste.
Right.
So how do you know you're even eating it?
Right.
And how do you know how much you're taking if you can't smell it, see it?
He had true love protecting him. That's all there is to it.
That's the true love.
Dupe away.
Yes. I think that whole scene, I love all those scenes are really good. I mean, I think they all kind of mesh together just right. And I think this is a type of movie that in your head you can enjoy, and somehow the next day you talk about A scene, B scene, like whatever scene it is, it sticks in your head, where it ends up being a giant movie at the end. Because I think we sit here and can nick and pick each one.
We could probably start from the beginning and tell you almost word for word.
You can do it now. Go through the list, girls. Go through the list of like what parts that you like, love, hate. I always love have fun storming the castle. When he says it extra, like New Yorkers, have fun storming the castle.
You think they'll make it?
Take a miracle.
I started saying that to Kelsey, and she hadn't seen the movie. I think she's seen it once, and not really seen it. You know,
My boss hates it. She can't get to it.
Ugh, what losers.
She can't we tried to watch it. She said she tried to watch it 3 or 4 times. We tried to watch it, and she was just like, she just can't.
I think you do kind of have to get over that initial scene. Like, the first time you watch it, like, you kind of have to get into it a little bit before you really understand, like, what's going on and figuring out the characters. Like, we watched it 100,000 times, so we know what's coming, and so, like, there's that expectation.
For me, I think this movie is perfect for my era of time, because in my era of time, we used to make movies light. We didn't go look for blockbusters. We didn't look for like high-end. It used to be like, hell, I went to go see Twins 100 times with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Dana, and it was a light movie. You know what I mean? It was just a ha-ha. It was like it was a 2-hour ha-ha and you left, or an hour and a half, or whatever it was. It wasn't like it is now, where it has to be a 3-hour movie.
Oh my God,
this has to be the best movie you've ever seen, and when you leave, you're just like, what just happened? You know, like. And that movie was one of those movies that was real light. And so, as long as you wanted to watch something light and like laugh or joke or just kind of follow a little storyline, that was perfect. Because I didn't find that.
It's a great like background movie too, because it's like
everything's a great background movie for you.
Well, yeah, but I mean like I've also seen it a million times,
Yeah.
but like it's not like one of those where you have to like focus on every detail. Like you can like kind of see what's going on throughout the whole movie.
And I find the funny parts are always still funny. Like, I still laugh at the same scenes every time, no matter, like, how well I know that that's coming up. I can't help it. Like, I just sit there and I laugh at it. Like,
Right.
Rob Reiner said that that Andre was upset and something was wrong, and he says, "You okay?" And he goes, "Hold on," and he ended up farting for like a whole minute.
It was more than a minute.
Yeah,
it was
I know,
like 6 minutes straight.
No,
like,
not 6 minutes. It wasn't 6
that.
minutes. But it was like a long fart, and he says, "Are you okay?" And he says, "Nah, I feel better now, boss."
Oh my god.
Because no, I don't know this, and I do know this, but I can't think. But he could drink like 2 24-packs, a case of wine. I'm talking about like one night. Like he used to drink ungodly because he was so big that
it was like
remember, this is a Coke
to
can.
him, right.
So if that's a Coke can when he holds it up, now it's a beer can.
Mm-hmm.
That's nothing. I could drink 100 of those, baby. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So he
those are shots.
Yeah, they are shots. That's how little they were. And there's a picture online. You can Google it. It says he's holding a can, and then he's basically holding it between his thumb and his finger, and it's like you just go, what? What? Wait, I'll find it. You want to find it? I can find it real quick. I can find it.
I was gonna say, did Niles offend you so much you just got up and walked away?
Yeah.
You're like, tiny Coke cans.
I don't think there's like I mean, other than like I guess like the fakeness of the rat, like I don't think there's like really like a bad scene in it.
All right, follow-up question: favorite character?
Oh, I'm wrong, but I
Probably
still.
Indigo.
I think the Indigo Fezzik. Fezzik is probably my ultimate favorite because like he's like this big giant guy and he's genuinely just trying to do the right thing at all times, but like he doesn't have enough self-confidence and he's like, yeah, I'm probably wrong. Like I'm an
wrong.
idiot.
I'm
like
wrong.
whatever.
It's not what I thought it was, but that's still. That's
But
his hand.
still.
Wow. Yeah.
That's still. I don't think you guys are going to be able to
I'll
see.
put it on the thing. I'll add it in.
You edited it in, okay. But it's still, that
If I
can's nothing
remember.
compared. I mean, so the can's that big
Right.
to his hand. And I
Right.
said, well, it's almost the same size. Like, same size.
That's how he measures things.
No, this is how I act. This is about 6 inches because this is how I measure my action figures, smarties. I do. This is how I know if they're too tall. If they're taller than that, then they're 7 or 8 inches.
Or action figures.
Action
right.
figures, yes.
It's Barbies.
I need 2 hands for my no.
Yo, okay.
But that whole like Indigo Fezzik relationship and connection, I think, is my favorite. And just the rhyming,
Fezzik and Wesley when he's drugged up. I love that chemistry when he's like, and he's like lifting
Hey,
his
you
head
moved
up,
your thumb.
and he's like, something so gentle, like such a big man trying to touch, like move almost like he doesn't want to break him,
Yeah.
Right.
and he's
Like
like
a baby.
yeah, like, and he knows that he's so big that he's just like, hey, don't do that, don't. Because isn't that one point where his head's like this, and he's like, hey, he's like, oh look, and then like, look, you moved your thumb, like all excited, and he's looking at him like, yeah, I need more than my thumb.
How long do you think Wesley would have gone before he like told his identity to Buttercup? If he wasn't pushed down the thing, like, do you think he'd wait, or do you think he would tell her?
He was pretty like sick of her by that point, so.
I'm surprised he didn't throw her down.
I died that day. But you're dying now.
Yeah, I don't know.
What would you do? Would you have done that? Like, if you hear Wesley's story, when we heard all Wesley's story, would you have done the same thing?
Remarry or marry someone else?
Like,
Or
like, no, I'm talking about
Are you talking
Wesley,
about
like Wesley.
when we know what he did to become
right,
Roberts, or
yeah,
even before?
yeah,
Okay.
like everything. When he gets kind of taken away, kind of goes, and then we see them. He comes back. It's like Buttercup's like, what the hell happened? Like, where did you go? Like, you're in my world,
Mm-hmm.
But I have to say, why wouldn't you? Like, it sounded like he did a path that was the right thing for him at the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No? Yeah?
Yeah.
What was your question?
Yeah.
Would you
Would
have
I
done
have
the
done
same? Would you
what
done the
Wesley
same
did?
path? Yeah, like
Yeah.
did Wesley? Because I know some people take her side, Buttercup, of like, well, why didn't he stay? And it's like, well,
That's also better explained in the book.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, according to chapter 3.
According to the introduction, page 75. No. Basically, she goes up to Wesley and she was like, I'm in love with you. Like, I love you so much. Like, I was just messing around with you so the whole reason Humperdinck even knows that Buttercup exists is there's one day she's on the farm with Wesley and the Count and I think it's his wife, like, show up. And because they had heard rumors that, Buttercup, she wasn't the prettiest yet. She was, like, in the 20th position still or whatever. And, like, they laid eyes on her and they saw the potential and they knew she was going to be this beautiful woman, whatever. And the Countess goes off with Wesley and was like...
what? I'm listening.
And, like, goes off with Wesley and is like, show me your farm animals or whatever.
Okay. I held it together.
You're all good until you're like, show me your farm animals. This is my cow. Ooh, what a pretty cow.
It was cows.
She's like,
The cows are... Yeah, it was cows.
She's like, this is my cow.
So Buttercup gets jealous or whatnot, and so the Count leaves with his wife or whatever. So what Buttercup goes to Wesley, like, I love you, like, I was just kidding, like, I shouldn't have taught you so bad. And Wesley just, like, flat out ignores her, like, shuts the door in her face. And then he's getting ready to leave, and he's like, I'm going out, I'm going to America, I'm going to start, like, this great life for you. So that's why she still pines after him after he leaves. Mm-hmm. And then she hears, the ship goes down.
Yeah.
And then we know where the story goes from there.
Right.
But basically, he was trying to, like, set them up a life in America that's better.
Herding cows.
Showing other women his farm animals.
Oh, my.
His utter life.
He definitely moved to America.
What a coward.
He really hoofed his way out, didn't he? So do we get backstories for anybody else?
We get backstories for...
That we don't get from the movie?
Indigo, you really get that scene of, like, how so his father, where they grow up, there's, like, this amazing swordsman and whatnot, and everyone goes to this guy, he pays him off and whatnot, and this guy's always like, yeah, I can do that, but he's not actually that great, so he'll go to, Indigo's father, and he's like, this guy's asking for this kind of sword, I don't know how to do it, can you do it? And he's always like, no, when you give me a real challenge, I'll do it, whatnot. He inevitably ends up doing whatever sword, whatever.
They say that in the movie, too.
So,
right.
So this guy, the six-fingered man comes up to that swords guy, and he goes, this is what I want, and he goes, okay. So this is the first time that guy comes up to Indigo's father and is like, this is the situation. He's like, oh, finally, a real challenge. Like, yes, like, there's no argument. Let me do it. Mm-hmm. So he puts his all into it. Like, it's described, like, all the different things, his frustrations, like, everything that he went through to it. It took him well over a year to, like, get that sword perfectly how it was. And then just like in the movie, they kind of explain, like, the six-finger man comes over and he was like, that's kind of looking cheap. Like, I don't know that you actually want this money. Because the six-finger man actually gave Indigo's father like a gold piece, and he's like, you'll get,
Right, the rest.
He's like, I'll pay you now, and his father was like, no, like, this is a challenge, like, I don't even want money for this, like, I just want to make this, like, this is a really cool challenge. So he holds on to that gold piece in, like, a drawer, so when the six-fingered man comes, he's, like, disgusted, so he takes that gold piece and, like, throws it at him, and he's like, get out of here, like, I worked this hard, like, then you don't get the sword, like, keep your money, like, whatever. And so that's when he kills him and goes after Indigo, and then that starts Indigo's whole, like, training. He, like, meets with so many swordsmanship. He actually, like, trains for, like, 20-something years. And then he comes back to the guy who knew his father, and he was like, do you think I'm good enough yet? And he was like, yeah, you seem pretty good. Like, you're not the best. You're not, like, the ultimate best. There was this good guy, like, 100 years ago, and I don't think you're quite at that level, but, like, yeah, you can take him on, basically.
Who would you want to be in this movie if you had to be a player role?
Fez.
I want to be Miracle Max.
You would be Miracle Max. You're the perfect guy for that. What about you?
She's still laughing about me. She keeps looking at me like...
She's the wife.
She's what?
She's the wife.
I hate you now.
I don't know who I'd want to play. I don't know.
That's a deep question.
She
was like,
I feel like this
not
is character
horse.
analysis.
not the last. I don't want to be the last white horse. Maybe the first one, because once I'm tired, I'm done.
I want to be the ROUS. I'm short.
He's the eel.
No, probably Indigo or Fezzik. They're just such good characters.
I feel like all that crew is, basically.
I feel like this is a really good cast in general. Like, everyone is perfectly cast. There's no one where I'm like, like, I wish, like, that wasn't the person who played them.
I have to agree. I think everyone really nails it. I think
like, even, like, the king and the queen, like, I mean, you get a lot more of them, obviously, in the book. And, like, the queen is actually technically Humperdinck's stepmother. It's not his actual biological mother. But I think they're really well cast. Like, even, like, side characters, you're just like, yeah. Like, I can see why they were picked for that.
I had read that Goldman, when he couldn't be on set, he said he was too nervous.
He kept getting in their way. He hates being on set in general.
That's
so, like, the couple times that he went, he was always, like, where the camera was supposed to be. The director would be like, dude, I'm ending the scene there. Like, where you're standing is in the way. So he's just like, I'm not coming. I'm good.
He's the eel of the scene.
He's the guy on the rock.
He was supposed to be RUS, but... The director was like, get off my set.
What?
I thought you were going to say something.
No.
No.
Nope. Cool. You don't have anything to say over there? Mr. Chatty Cathy?
I've talked a little bit. He's chatty.
You're
She's talked the
chatty.
most. She's the talker tonight. You've been amazing in this movie. So now you're going to be probably part of the podcast, and every time we do a movie, we expect this much reading the book.
You can read all the books for the movie. We're going to watch the movie.
Sounds great. And I'll give an analysis. This happened in the movie. Your subscribers are going to be like, this is not what I signed up for.
No, I this is a perfect movie. I think this is a great date movie where it's simple. Like, you can get up and get something like popcorn and come back and you didn't miss much. Like, it's not like, oh, where are we? You know, like,
right.
Yeah.
That's what I said. It's perfect background.
Yeah, or, you know, a date movie where you're trying to keep something light and it's nothing like... It's like an iconic movie, but yet if you hadn't seen it, it's like, okay, this isn't Star Wars where it's like 30 movies or Harry Potter, and it's like, oh, I haven't watched these because I don't want to get into them. Like, you know, like...
It's a nice standalone
It's
movie.
a nice, yeah. It's like, it's one, done, it's good, it's perfect, doesn't need to be remade. This is one of those movies that I think I would probably riot the world if someone said, "Oh, let's make another one." Like, no,
I would be so upset.
no.
Have you seen the? I think it was like some post or whatever that went around where it was the guy who played Wesley. He took that line where he was like, "There's only so many perfect breasts in the world," and
right.
he's sad to sacrifice it. And basically, he replaced it with, "There was only one really good version of The Princess Bride," so it would be a disaster to remake it. And I would agree.
It's the 30th anniversary. It was something anniversary because they all got together again. Obviously, the ones that were still alive. And I remember watching it thinking, yeah, I think that is perfect. I don't think this is one of those movies. Yeah, The Rat. That's probably, if you really want to sit here and complain. One more other thing. And because I feel like you guys have been running the show. I just want to throw in, did the quicksand seem so watery to you? Like, like it was like pure water. Because as soon as you fell in, I felt like that whole scene, like in that the fire swamp, right? Right? Was like, we are really pushing it.
I feel like it was hard for them to be like, what is this place supposed to look like? Because it is described in the book, but this is like one of the rare times where Morgenstern doesn't fully describe it. He spends, I think, a stupid amount of pages describing trees, which is why we get that line of like, you know, I wouldn't build a summer house here, you know, just because of the trees or whatever. Right. But I think they just struggled so much to be like, what is this supposed to look like? Because it's not like your typical, the book describes it, it's not your typical like quicksand. It's like a special like light, fluffy, like whatever. And how do you replicate that like on a stage?
Again, this is one of those things that I'm not judging to hate, but that's, even the quicksand being watery is still better than the rat. Like the rat just goes a little, just like, oh man, we're doing so good.
Or the vine that he uses to go into the quicksand. Like, that's not...
Yeah, but, you know, there's some you gotta give and take. Like, you kind of go, yeah, I get this isn't real, but...
See, I think because, like, I know it's from, like, a while ago that was, like, you know, that's probably great for that time, you know?
Yeah, some of it was. Yeah, I mean, some of it was. And some of it was just because it's a light... I hate to use a light, cheap movie, because I hate to say it, but back in... I feel like there was a period of time where light, cheap movies used to... I mean, I remember being in 8th grade going to go see the stupidest movies and just being like, sitting down and just being like... And like, as soon as it go on, you just knew it wasn't going to be this amazing movie. It was just a movie. Like, you know, like, let's just get me from A to B, you know. And some were bad and some were cute. I feel like a lot of cute movies, like especially 80 movies. 80 movies were the best because it always started off with a kid getting bullied. The kid landed up doing something to get respect, and at the end they would all be not best of friends, but you knew like there was some equal grounds or something, and then you'd be like, okay, that's the end of the movie. You know, like that type of thing. Like it was more the adventure of the ride, those cheap, light movies. Now it's so, you miss anything in a movie and it's like, what just happened? Hold on. Did that just, I missed the whole storyline. Yeah.
You could be watching and be like, I don't know what's going on.
I also feel like they didn't care so much like how long it was. Like a movie could be like an hour and a half, and they'd be fine. Now it's like, I think people were like, oh, but I read this in the book and like this has to be in there. So now like directors are like put details in there that you're just like, did we really need that? Like, did the movie have to be that long?
Just think the Lord of the Rings, they're 3-hour movies, and he had to cut out parts. And people have complained about that.
I've read that series.
Yeah,
it's really long.
I've read that series too.
Like,
but there's
I
parts.
don't think I have the attention span to watch it.
No, but there's actually one character that got totally cut out, and they were like, and I was like, I watched the movies and I know it's not there, and I didn't go, oh my god, where's this guy? But I think it's those purists, just like comic book people and people out there who just they read the comics and it's by the book. It's like, look, you've had 1,000 comic books or whatever, 100 comic books. You can't make that into a movie. Like, too long. You got to cut out stuff. So, I think years ago, it was like you sit down for an hour and a half and that's what you watched. You know, and then usually, somehow, never understood this, you would watch it on TV and it would fit in an hour. How did that work? And I swear to God, I would watch
with commercials.
it. Yeah, with commercials. I'd go, how did this happen? I was like an hour and 20 minutes, and now it's only because it would be just little bits of pieces gone, and you just be like, yeah, okay. You wouldn't even notice it because they would be, and that's why they have that little message made for TV. Like they would chop it. And so instead of being like, listen, we can't have a 5-hour movie or an hour and a half, hour and 20 minutes because we don't know what to do for the last 10 minutes, so we just made it an hour. So.
The part where she's like, oh, he had like whatever she described the eyes, like, how did you not know it was him then? Like, you were looking at him. You can't see his eyes. He's wearing a mask, but you can see his eyeballs.
So here's the thing. Prior to the pandemic, I was with you. But when we were all in masks and everything, there are some kids that I had where I'd never seen them without a mask. They took their mask off. I was like, who are you? Literally did not recognize them, spent an entire year with them. And I was like, oh, did not recognize you. So I can give it to her a little bit.
No, I wanted to tell a joke, okay? No, you're going to laugh, and everyone else is not going to get this, but it's a private joke. I had said something about being funny a long time with you, about being, what do you think I'm creepy? Like sitting in the corner in your bedroom. Remember when you were little? Like when you were younger? Yeah. And it was like me in the mask, you wouldn't know. It was like, that was you the whole time! Sorry, guys. It was just a little private joke where I joked around when you were much younger then. Remember?
I feel like because you told that out of context, it's 10 times creepier.
Well, no, it was a joke about me being creepy, which it wasn't really being creepy. You were just young and mean to me.
She's older than me, too.
Yeah, I know. Woohoo! But the mask. Yeah, I agree with her. And, of course, he has a mustache where he didn't have a mustache. And he is not talking.
But if his eyes were these, like, great things. Look at his eyeballs.
Really?
It had also been like several years since she saw him, so like she
really liked those eyeballs.
Well, there are a lot of people who have blue eyes, green eyes, and brown eyes.
But these are like the ocean or whatever the fuck she said. Like,
well, you always say that to the person you love, and the next time you see him, you're like, oh shit, they're blue. But I don't know. This is a great movie. Obviously, this book sounds amazing. Like,
looks really good.
I didn't even know there was a book. No, I knew there was a book, but I just thought it was a book about the movie. Like, I would have to reread the book plus the little bit, like I said, with The Hobbit. I'm not The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, where there's a little bit of it in there. You know what I mean? Because the movie's almost, if you watch Lord of the Rings, it's almost just like the book. I mean, really is. There is little bits of parts are taken out, but they're all little dinker stories. Like, they're not even...
He also spends like 50 pages describing a blade of grass.
I know.
In parts of the book, so...
I know. So, I think that this is something that you should read, you should go out and watch. And again, this is a really light movie. I don't even think I think it's an hour and a half or 2 hours.
I don't even think it's 2 hours.
I don't even think it is, because it's
maybe
really...
an hour and 20.
Yeah, because I feel like it's a very high... It was 87. I forgot how old. I thought it was in the 90s. I thought it was like 91.
I thought you meant it was 87
They started
minutes.
trying to make it a film in the 70s. It just took that long to be able to get it out there. I think he started like in 72 or something like that.
Hour and 38 minutes.
But it doesn't even feel like an hour and 38 minutes.
Yeah, but you know why it doesn't feel like that now? Because everything's like 3 hours to 2 hours or something. So when you watch an hour and a half something, it's like, it's over? What? I just sat down. I feel like even the Harry Potter movies, like at the end, you were just like, this is so good. Oh my God. How long has I been? Like, you can't eat, you can't drink, because God forgive you. Oh, I did that one time. So, I know I'm totally changing the topic real quick, but there's a story where I will go see Lord of the Rings. I go see the first one. Amazing. At that time, I was married, and my wife was pregnant. She had to go to the movies with me. Then she's like, oh, can you go to... I'm like, I'm watching this movie. Can you come to... I can't come to the bathroom with you because what am I going to stand outside for? Like, I can't do anything. Like, let me watch the movie, which I had told her to stay home because I knew she was pregnant and she wanted to go, and then called me a jerk and called me lots of things because I didn't want to get up and leave the movie. Then the last movie, I was divorced. So I thought it was great. I was going to spurge, and I got this big icy, and like by the last half hour, my legs were crossed, going, "Oh God, please be over soon," because I wouldn't leave. I was like, I will pee myself in the can if I have to. I will not leave this movie because it was obviously the last movie, and you were like, so good. But years ago, that's what makes these movies great. That you can eat popcorn and drink and still have enough time to go through your system and it'll be over.
Well, it's funny you said that because Chris and I, my friend Chris and I, we usually go out to the Marvel movies, see them together and whatnot. And there was one movie where like we were running a little late, but we're like, the movie never starts. It's on time or whatever. And it was the one time they had started it on time, and I think it was Endgame or one of those. And we were like, what? Like we missed like a really important scene, and it was like devastating. So I'm not someone who gets up at all like during a movie, it doesn't matter how long. But ever since then, I was like, we get there early and we don't move. Like you get your snack and your drink, and you sit there and you suffer until the end, all 4.5 hours.
If it wasn't for the person I'm with, whoever it is, I would never get snacks. I'm just like, I sit in my seat, and always like we're always waiting outside. We're always like waiting in the lounge. They're like, we're here like a 20 minutes early. We haven't even cleaned it. That's fine. That's fine. You have assigned seats. I know.
If I'm not there for the trivia, I don't want it.
So I'm that person. Like I like getting there early. I like watching it, whatever. Kristen's not. So Kristen's like, we can get there like at the end of the previews, and I'm like, no, we can't.
No,
like the whole point of going to the movies is to watch previews.
Yeah.
Because
to see what you want to see next, and be like, oh, that's good.
Because now when you like, it was one thing when you had the VHS and they like played like the previews before the movie.
Oh,
that
yes.
and, like,
I've been there. Yes.
That was the best part.
It was because then you were like, I'm watching that.
Yeah.
Ooh, no, I'm not watching that. No, it's stupid. I'm watching. Oh my God. Oh, this is a movie. It's coming out. Oh my God. Like, oh yeah.
But now we don't have that. So like you miss those previews. You miss them. They're done. They're gone.
I get them on Facebook all the time, so I'm not missing out.
I have to say I am an early person all the time. Like literally sitting there, like camping out. It's like it's like
it's a 11 o'clock.
Like I'm usually done with my popcorn before the movie even starts. Like because I'm there so early. Like I see that trivia at least 4 times.
Yeah.
Because I'm there that early, and be like, why are you here this early? I'm like, yeah, I don't want to miss anything. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't care if it breaks. I want to be here when it breaks, so I know exactly where I left off. Like, I'm fanatic about that. And if I walk in and there's something going on, I walk right back out. I won't even watch it. Like, I'll lose the money. I can't. Like you said, you watch it. I won't watch it. If I walked into Endgame and it was like, say 15 minutes, or just say 10 minutes, I walk in, I'm like, it's on. I'm out. I'll just walk out and be like, I have to go to the movie another day.
We were pretty devastated because we had to wait until it actually like came out so that we could see
the
beginning to see what happened.
Yeah, I leave. I'd be like, I can't do it. I got brought late to one movie, and this is a long time ago. Oh no, it was the very first Harry Potter. I had no clue who Harry Potter was at all. None. This girl was like, can you go with me? And I was like, I don't know what this is, but I'll go with you. Like, no. You know how, like, they have the balcony, but then they have that front row? Mm-hmm. I had to sit in the front row of that. Oh. So I literally watched this whole movie like this. And then I went home, my neck was, like, kinked. And I was like, I just watched the coolest movie in the whole world. I said, I have to make sure. I saw every single one except the last one because I had no one to go with. But I saw every Harry Potter. And I would have to go early. I went by myself. I went with friends. I went with neighbors. I went with a dog. I was like, I need to go. I just didn't go to the last one. But yeah, I can't do it late. No way. And the only reason why I didn't care about me being late to that one because I had zero clue about what this movie was. Mm-hmm. Like I had zero clue, and I kind of sat down. I was like, and I was late. Like you know how in the beginning they have the smoke, and then like the words. Mm-hmm. Like magically, like that's what I came to, and I was like, I don't know what I missed, but I looked like I didn't miss anything, Mm-hmm. And it was so long ago when I watched the movie. It came out. I did what you did watch. I was like, I don't think I missed anything anyway. I was like, I think I just missed all stuff that I fast forward anyway.
Like backstory, who needs that?
Yeah, no, it's just all the stuff. Is that it for us?
That's it.
I'd like to thank Miss Ashley coming back again. What's our next one? Do we even know the next movie?
We'll discuss.
We'll discuss. Sounds good to me. Thank you for watching. I'd like to thank the Goofy Geek Boutique for sponsoring us. I like to tell everyone we're here on Tuesdays.
Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, hit that bell.
Ding.
Do you miss your sound effects?
Yeah, you like that? Ding. Again, I like to thank everyone has a comment or something you would like us to do or wants us to talk about. We're a very open mind. You can write underneath this on YouTube or find us on Facebook, or you can message the Goofy Geek if you like. Again, thank you, Ashley, for being I feel like you're a regular. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for having me. Thank you for letting me just info dump.
No, you were great. I think you talked for her. she was like, we're just gonna put Jesse and just.
I looked up at one point. I was like, wow, that was 20 minutes.
No, it was great. I actually love that you brought that. I mean, I love that different side of it.
When you sent me a picture that you were reading the book, I'm like, oh, okay, like, just reading the book.
No clue.
You're like, I
didn't realize the book was 4 pages and the rest was backstory.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.